Alright, welcome to another retro stream. Getting started a little bit early here. I'll talk a little bit about this game, Zanac. Designed, game designed by Compile. Absolutely fantastic vertical scrolling shooter on the Nintendo Entertainment System. It's one of my favorite games on the system. I think the full title is Zanac AI. You can see Zanac AI, although everyone just refers to it as Zanac. The reason why it has the AI subtitle, excuse me, is because Compile had already developed a few scrolling shooters previously, and vertical scrolling and really shooters in general were very popular in Japan at the time. And one of the things that people complained about was that they were predictable, and the more you played them, then sort of more, the better you got, the more you could be expected to beat vertical scrolling shooters like Xavius or whatever. Although I don't think it actually has an ending, but there were other shooters that were inspired by Xavius, the same way Zanac is inspired by Xavius. So the AI system was a way where they programmed the game's difficulty to evolve based on how well you were doing in the game. So you might see more or less enemies depending on how well you're doing. If you're doing very well, you'll see some of the tougher enemies, and they'll appear more often, which is really quite remarkable. So, anyway, it's one of the things that I like about this game compared to a lot of other shooters is that it's not always the same every time you play it. So it's a little bit like you might consider, a roguelike, in the sense that it's got some randomness to it. The levels are the same, obviously, but the enemies that appear will be different, which is actually pretty cool for a game from 1986. So, anyway, without much further ado, we'll get started here in Zanac. I have beat this game previously. I've 1cc beat this game, which is, in the shoot-'em-up community, the way that you want to beat a shooter. The idea is you beat it with 1 credit. So 1 credit clear is what 1cc stands for. And if you are interested in being, a true shooter fan, and I am one of those people, then you want to try to 1cc or 1 credit clear these games with no continues. That's very hard to do in many of these shoot-'em-ups, or shooters, or shmups. I just call them shooters. I don't like the word shmup. So that's, we'll try to 1cc Zanac and see how far we get. I won't be doing any continues to beat the game. So, anyway, thanks for tuning in, and let's get started with Zanac. Try to get the different ship here. Talk a little bit about how the game works with its weapons and stuff like that. Power-ups. There's a lot of power-ups in this game for your main weapon and a secondary weapon, which is really cool. There aren't any bombs in this game. There's a bomb-like secondary weapon, but there isn't any actual bombs, which is cool. There's also a power-up you can collect that clears the screen, but it's not a bomb you can hold on to. Anyway, we'll get started. Well, we got the wrong ship. We're gonna try to get the different ship. Just because I think it looks cooler. There we go. There's nothing better about the different ship. It just looks cooler, I think, so we're gonna get started with that. And I missed a power-up right there. Missed another power-up. Oh well. We don't need those things. Weapon 4 is a shield, like a barrier shield. Weapon 2, I think, rotating disc. Weapon 4, if you get it, the AI just goes crazy. It thinks you're super overpowered, so you definitely don't want Weapon 4, although it's not a terrible power-up if you're not used to the game. These little chips that you pick up increase your main weapon. And you definitely need to get those. What I'm doing right here with Weapon 0, there's this sort of a secret hidden thing where if you collect only Weapon 0 and the main weapon chips, you can get the super laser, which is like a really fast-firing spread shot. Much faster, but you can only collect Weapon 0 until you get that. Once you get that, then you can collect the other weapons. My favorite weapon in the game is actually Weapon 7. It's really good because it clears enemy bullets out. Also rapid fire, it's great. But if you collect only Weapon 0 and you don't die, you can increase your main weapon really, really high. It's a little bit dangerous, but that's really good too. That increases your weapon fire rate. There's some hidden power-ups, so to speak, in the game, which is what I'm talking about here. I really like fighting. That's a mid-boss, not an end boss. I really like the bosses in this game are these sort of like bases that you have to destroy. They're really, really just kind of fun to blow up. And if you know anything about why I like shoot-'em-ups, one of the things I like about shoot-'em-ups is getting really overpowered and just destroying everything. And Zanac is, you can do that. Although, when you die, you lose all your weapons, and one hit, you're dead. So, it can be considered very unforgiving. But if you know what you're doing with your weapon power-ups, you can hold on to them for a pretty long time. You can see I'm doing pretty well here. They're throwing some nastier enemies at me. The directional shot, Weapon 0 is oh no! Now I messed up the chip upgrade. That's okay. We don't need to have the chip upgrade. There's also level warps you can get from those little faces that you can shoot on the ground. Well, now if I see Weapon 7, I'm going to take it since I messed up with getting another weapon before I get the super laser. Which is okay, because sometimes you get the super laser and then you die right away, and then it's gone, so it doesn't really matter. I want that, though. It's nice. You can see Weapon 7 is quite destructive. And as it gets powered up, it gets even better. Each weapon, if you collect the same number over and over, gets more and more powerful. There is a limit. Weapon 7 gets a little slower, but the ball gets a little bit bigger. The shot gets a little bit bigger. Yeah, take that. So, that was pretty easy for Stage 1. There are 12 stages to Zanac, so it's quite a long game. Another complaint that I've heard from people who play shoot-'em-ups is that these games are too long. But I like that they're long. I feel like you get a lot from the money, so to speak. And it's fun to play. I mean, even though it's long, it's challenging. I like the challenge. And the challenge is fun. Getting to the end is enjoyable. The music's pretty good in Zanac. Some levels are better than others. But the graphics are decent. You can see my weapon seems to slow down a little bit there. This is another kind of capital ship boss. That's what they refer to them to. Now you'll notice I have a counter there in the lower right-hand corner. That is the ammunition I have for my secondary weapon. And actually, if I'm not shooting it, it doesn't go down. So right now, there's no reason for me to be shooting Weapon 7, really. So it's sort of like having ammunition. I've already maxed out my main weapon conventional sense. Like I said, if I kept weapon 0, I could have gotten the super laser, but there are other ways to get super laser. There's these like faces that appear on the ground you can shoot, and they give you the super laser. They power up all your weapons completely. So there's one of those on this level we'll try to shoot. And then hang on to the power up from that. Okay, here we go. We're maxed out on weapon 7. Which is great. This giant super. This rapid fire is really good. You can see it blows away enemy bullets, which is also really important. Now this chip collecting I'm doing here is basically just giving me a few bonus points. Now one of those is going to turn into a level warp. Yeah. So I think if you want to get the absolute highest score, you don't take a level warp. So I think I'm just going to leave it there and kill this boss. And try to get the super laser. It does slowly go off screen. So I will bump into it if I get the super laser, which is coming up here. That's not the end boss, is it? I don't think so. It is. Interesting. Okay. Well, didn't need a level warp anyway. These enemies that come from behind are the worst. Okay, there should be a couple different power-ups coming up on the left here. This is the fairy, and the fairy destroys the next boss that you fight. So sometimes you want to wait to collect it. It's just going to blow up this boss when we go. So for example, that's an easy boss. I could wait to collect the fairy. That's didn't get weapon 7 right there. There's also something I read that said that if you don't shoot all the time, the AI doesn't recognize you as doing as well, but I don't know if that's really right. Alright, here we go. There should be a large power coming up on the side here. Should power up my laser to be the super laser, so to speak. There it is. Alright, now I have to hang on to it. If your laser isn't maxed out and you get the super laser power up and collect more chips, you will lose the super laser, which is a real bummer. So you definitely want to make sure your laser is maxed out before you shoot that thing. Otherwise you will lose your super weapon. And it's because it's too easy to collect the chips when you're going around. So it's, again, it comes from having played this a lot to know these things. I think it might be vaguely explained in the manual. I don't remember. I don't have the manual. I've read it online on the PDF. But as you can see, once you've gotten that power up, you can be pretty devastating here. One of the reasons why that is such a great power-up is it gives you some protection on the sides as you're shooting there. And that's really important in this game. The enemies coming from behind and from the side. Sweeping away the enemies here. Do not want to collect any other weapon power-ups. Except for the chips. Weapon 7 will carry me a long way. I am going to die, though, I'm sure, at some point. I would be shocked if I survived the entire game with these power-ups. Alright, one of these is a level. Which I think I might take since I'm maxed out on my weapons, yes. Think about conserving my weapon a little bit. But I find that if you're not shooting it, you're running the risk of getting blasted. But when the screen's clear, you don't need to shoot it. Screen wipe also resets the AI so that it thinks you're like a step lower on its difficulty, setting. So it's worth picking up the screen clears even if there's nothing to clear because of that. Oh, I need that. Yes. Oh, I love how powered up I feel with the maxed out laser and weapon 7 at full. It's great. Again, a lot of people feel like this game is too hard. It's definitely challenging, but it's not that hard. And it's great. It's easily in my top 5 shooters on the NES of all time. It's fantastic. The best is up there. Probably Zanac is probably the best. I don't know. I've played that on stream too. It's really good. Also by Compile. Crisis Forces on the Famicom never came to the US. It's by Konami. It's fantastic. An absolute hardware pusher. I have that. I played that on stream as well. Zanac. Maybe it's in the top 3. I don't know. It's so good. Zanac's really good. Star Soldier rather is pretty good. It feels sort of primitive compared to this game though. I'm getting a little low on my weapon energy, but just gonna keep my eye open for a second. Alright, now we're getting into a place where there can be some dangerous bullets flying around the screen if you're not careful. This business. Alright, destruction. think we've maxed out the AI here. That was a 7 that we just missed. There's one. Oof, let's pick up a different weapon. One of the other good weapons is weapon 5, which turns into this really great laser that can shoot through everything, and it's great for destroying bosses. But weapon 7 is great because it clears all the bullets out in a wide swath. You can shift around like this. So I think weapon 7 is better, but some people like weapon 5. For example, weapon 5 would do great work on this sub-boss here, which I have to be very careful about, because he's really hard to kill. Ooh, a warp. This one gonna take me back? No, thankfully. Some of those warps take you back, which is terrible. You need to be careful about the warps. Another mini boss. Stinks. I've died here previously. Get away. And exploded missiles too, which is always like, that's great. Good here. Nice. 22 guys. That's not too bad. Eat it. And full disclosure, I'm using the dog bone controller, which not everybody likes, but I like it. Doesn't give you necessarily any particular advantage, it's just more comfortable. I am also using the NES 4-score, which does give you some turbo. I don't know if it matters much for this game, because you get sort of built-in turbo. But you can see how it's kind of chugging along there with the shots. Some people consider, you know, using the NES advantage and turbo to be a form of cheating. I don't agree with that. I mean, it's other games had turbo functionality built in using different controllers. Nintendo produced those controllers. They're not like third party or anything. Why can't you use the Nintendo controllers that have that capability? You We need to get an... Oh, I missed the birdie. That's too bad. It says compile here. I think that's a level warp. That is. Do I dare take it? I'll risk it. If I go backwards, it'll be okay, right? Right? Nope, went ahead. Okay. That's good. Oh yes, these things. Unkillable. Things that float around. Oh, I hate them. I think Weapon 5 can kill them. That's one of the reasons why some people like Weapon 5. You can run into them or something. Do I dare try to run into them? Oh yeah, I can run into them. Again, that's a thing that you wouldn't necessarily know when you first get this far. You're like, what are these things I can't kill? But you can kill them, you just have to run into them, which is scary. Especially when you've gotten this far. Oh, I finally ate it. Well, it was bound to happen. Don't like Weapon 1. Guess I have to dip into my 27 guys. Okay, we got some Weapon 5 actually. Some of these levels, they give you weapons to deal with some of the enemies in a better fashion, and you know, kind of a consolation gift. Hey, here's a weapon that will help you in your journey, kind of a thing. Weapon 5's pretty good. Running into these guys is so confusing to do, but it's the only way you can kill them. Another nice thing about Zanac is when you die, you don't have to restart the level. I can't stand games that make you do that. And many shooters do. It's a thing, thankfully, that went away as shooters. That stinks. Got better. And Zanac, I'm not sure if it was one of the first shooters to do that or not, but it seems like... What am I doing? When you lose that weapon, you start going through lives pretty fast. I need this. Well, we got weapon 7 again, which is good. Couldn't hold on to our power-ups forever. Would be nice to get some more chip power-ups here. Not many of those. Well, having weapon 5 would be terrible. Problem. There's a very difficult mid-boss coming up. These guys, these capital ships, I really hate them too. Eat a lot of lives here. Weapon 4 is actually not good for this boss. You can see why. It's just sitting there kind of off screen. But I figured it would be better than weapon 0. It might have been a mistake. Just weapon 5. No! That's better. It will help some. Some chip upgrades while we fight this guy. Now the bad part is there's a timer. If we don't beat the boss in the timer, we have to redo the level, which is bad. That's another trick, by the way. No, we didn't beat him in the timer. That's bad. Maybe it's only the end boss? I think that was the end boss, though. Rarely have I not defeated the bosses within the timer. Weapon 7 helps so much. Anyway, what I did there was I ran into... Yeah, I think I have to redo these bosses again. I ran into one of those containers when I was invulnerable after dying, and that will allow you to potentially pick up a chip without shooting the box. And if you do that, you can get your weapon completely powered up. But you have to be invulnerable to even try to do it. And so if you just died, it's a chance to power up your weapon completely. Not to the super laser, but to the largest power-up you can get with the regular laser, which is kind of a triple shot like this, which is greatly, you know, helpful when you're struggling with a boss like that. I guess I don't have to redo the boss? That seems wrong. I won't complain. Maybe it makes the boss harder? I'm not sure. Just gonna get that to try to reduce the AI. Challenge rating or whatever it is. Need that weapon 7 badly. I hate these guys that come in from the side. Such a drag. When you die, it reduces the AI setting as well. God, for weapon 7. Yeah, see, I could have tried to ram those just then. It would have been useful. Weapon 0 allows you to shoot these guys on the sides for reason. This is gonna be hard with no power-ups. That helped a little bit. Well, I still have 19 guys. There's that. But the really tough boss that's coming up, I don't know what we're gonna do about that guy. I guess weapon 5 would be good for him. There's like a capital ship boss that's coming up. It's gonna be really. Oh, thank you. Ooh. That was dangerous. When I first fought the capital ship boss, it's either this stage or the next one, I can't remember, but I could not kill him. Like, I fought him for... That's really good, fully powered up with the 7. I was like, well, can he be killed? Like, what is this? What's going on here, you know? I think that boss is going to be here soon. He's coming, I know it. Ugh. Instead of death to a parting shot there. Alright, well, capital boss must be on the next stage. Yeah, it is. This is the stage right before the end stage. I mentioned I hate these guys that come in from the back and the side. Oh, and these stupid things. Oh, we got the super laser. Nice. Let's see how long we can hold on to it. And I can't believe that they put these weapon launchers in this level, like, just along the edge. It wasn't hard enough already. Make it extra hard. Oh, here's this terrible, terrible boss. Kind of draw him away and then shoot him. Yeah, greedy there. Oh, this capital boss is the worst. Oh, that was weird. Somehow he just he just died. What? It stinks that I lost all my power-ups. I don't want weapon 1. Oh yeah, some more capital bosses. I need that ship power up. Yes, please. That's not good. Just ran right into that. 21 lives seems like a lot until you get to the end. Yes. Lose those power-ups, though. You're in bad shape. That'll help a little bit. I did the ram the container trick while you're invulnerable. I want weapon 5. Probably do. I think we need it to kill this stuff, because there's launchers on the side, too. Yeah. Yep. And 5 is really good for bosses. Bam. Okay. Well, 3.2 million. Looking good here. 20 guys going into the last stage. Maybe once you see this thing. I say that now, but... Oh, here's that jerk again. Maybe that's what I'm remembering is the second time you fight him. Draw him away. 7. Yes. Come on, die. Yes. And we have weapon 7. Fantastic. Hang on to it. Stupid capital ship boss. Terrible. What? Get lucky there with the chip. And we had weapon 7. These guys on the side, man, it's just brutal. At least weapon 0 lets you shoot sideways. I was lucky. There was a chip in there. Not always the case. Oh, sweet. We got the super laser somehow. I'm not sure how that happened. But I'll take it. And I'm only at weapon 7. 3. 3 is okay. Do some side protection. Especially with super laser. There's weapon 7. Oh, here we go. Final boss. Unless the timer's gone. Kill the brains. The brains. Here they come. Die. Die with the weapon 5 and super laser. Yes! We did it! 5.6 million. Nope, nope. Bunch of bonus lives, even more. Holy cow. Whoa, what a high score. Congratulations. You are the Messiah of Earth. Yes. That's only the second time I've ever beat Zanac. And I did it on stream. So, man, thanks for watching. It took about 50 minutes to beat it. 1 CC, no continues. Produced by all. Created by Compile. One of my favorite developers. Oh, we did it. That's a pretty good score. 10,437,490. Wow. That's way higher than I got last time I beat it. I better take a picture of this. There's my NES down there, you guys can see. Oh, man. I'm doing too well at these games. Like, I don't normally beat them in one sitting all the time. Now, to be fair, I did play Zanac for months and months and months previously before I beat it. And like with many scrolling shooters, the more you play them, the more familiar you are with the levels. I mean, obviously I knew about the bosses, like the capital ship boss that was coming up, and I knew about the different weapons that work well compared to others. We mostly used weapon 7. Weapon 5 is really good for killing bosses. We used weapon 5 to just destroy the end boss brains and stuff there at the end. It was really, really good. So, you know, practice obviously helps a ton. There's some other shooters I'd like to play on stream in 1cc, like Zanac. I still haven't 1cc beat Crisis Force, a game I mentioned earlier at the start of the stream, and I'd like to do that. That game's fantastic. It's a real hardware pusher on the NES. It was only a Famicom release, but I have an adapter that lets me play it on my NES. And it's pretty difficult too. But one of the coolest things about it is it's two-player co-op, and one of the reasons I bought it was to play it with my friends, local two-player co-op. I don't think we'll do that, but on stream. But maybe someday we'd have somebody over and we do two-player co-op with Crisis Force. So, all right. Well, I don't know if there's any other screens to the end of this. That's it. It just puts the top score at the top. Nice. All right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up early and share our exploits on YouTube. 1cc on Zanac. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for watching another retro stream. I hope you enjoyed it. 1cc at Zanac is quite remarkable, so I'm glad we got it on stream. And I'll be streaming maybe a little bit this weekend, not sure. Regular time is Wednesday evenings. So I'll see you again next week for another retro stream.